You ready? Okay. Nothing like running a little bit late. Sorry about that, y'all. Well, I would like to call this afternoon's meeting of the Victoria Parks Commission and Tree Board, if I've got that right, to order, June 12th, 2023. And we'll start with citizen communications. The gallery looks pretty empty, so I will,
Yes, sir.
Lee,
do we, yeah,
may I speak on
Yes,
behalf
Jesse.
of
please
one of
do.
our constituents in the
Sure,
community?
absolutely.
I happened to be in one of his businesses there, and he approached me about the duck pond. And he said how beautiful it really looks, it's going to look when you get it going. But he brought up a question, a little concern about the golf course. So he said the walkway going around the duck pond and all, he said, how about if you have a golfer that decides to do a foul ball? I don't know what the right terminology for golf is, but the ball goes into the duck pond, and what is the liability or the concerns of that if a golf ball hits a child or an adult or someone around the pond?
Sure. So the liability would be the same as it currently is. I mean, the city would, I'm sure, go through all the necessary, requirements and processes to as far as medical attention and all of that. Some of the ways that we're looking at trying to mitigate that from occurring is the planting of those trees that you see that are in between the duck pond and the golf course itself. So that's one of the ways. Another way is that we have GPS installed in the golf course, golf carts, I'm sorry. And so whenever the carts come up towards that hole, there's going to be a notification on the GPS system in that screen that just states, to watch out for walkers, that, there's I don't want to say a hazard, but there's, pedestrians on the right-hand side of the fairway, and to watch out there. In addition to all of that, we're also going to include signs along the walkway of the duck pond itself. And so, before you actually approach, I want to say approach that area, but approach kind of that, the red zone, if you will, kind of that danger zone, there'll be signage there that states, please stay here, watch for golfers ahead, try to give them as many opportunities to just be alert and be provided that information.
Would you mind if I leave you his card? He wrote a little note
Absolutely.
in the back, so I can leave with y'all later, and
Yes, sir,
his
absolutely.
name and address and phone number.
You're also going to line it with trees as well, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. And so there's currently trees out there already. You can go out there and look at it, and one may say, what the heck is that going to do? Quite honestly, it's just not
Great
really
barrier.
much right now. Wait till it grows. Unfortunately, we couldn't go in there with
Big trees.
25-foot tall trees and have really thick canopies over there. But we have planted a substantial amount of trees, so that way whenever they do grow, hopefully that vegetation is thick enough. I'm not going to say that it's going to completely eliminate all hazards, because there's always that potential there, but hopefully it does at least reduce that from happening.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. Anybody else have anything that someone's brought to their attention that they need to bring to our attention? Okay, very good. Let's move on to the minutes. The minutes from the last meeting, May the 8th, are attached for your review.
I have a note. I was not actually here at that meeting, so,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so they need to be amended by dropping Commissioner Billingsley from the list of members present. Okay. Everything else look okay? Is there a motion to accept the minutes as changed then?
What's going to be the change? How many? What? 3?
Well,
Ashley, Brian, and Justin?
Oh,
Yeah, for some reason, they
Right,
all
good
showed that they
point.
were
We have
present, that
everybody
everybody
that
was
was
present, but that's incorrect.
right.
Commissioner Urbano, Commissioner Billingsley, and Commissioner McGee.
sorry
the
about
three
that. I
absent.
didn't notice that.
I believe those were the only 3, but
There were 5 people present at that meeting, so
correct, yes, sir.
I had one, I was out on medical
Oh, that's right.
last meeting.
And so Commissioner Olivetti
Yeah,
is here.
Jesse was right. Okay. So then, Is there a motion to approve with those changes made?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Gail. Second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. May have been the most difficult thing we have to do tonight. So there's, on the agenda, item D from commissioners, change commission meeting date in October.
Yes.
Oh,
Good evening, everybody.
hi, Jason.
So the next potential issue that we saw for the agenda meetings would be in October. And so what we're looking at doing is proposing a new date, a new meeting date for the October date. So we do meet on the second Monday of each month. That Monday happens to fall on a holiday, and so that will be the 9th of October. We do realize that a new commission will be coming in at that time, but we just felt that it's just, might as well go ahead and change the date now. So that way, the new commissioners, once they come in September, will have that date already changed. So we are proposing October the 10th, which would be that Tuesday instead of the 9th. I believe Jessica has already double-checked with everybody, and this room is available. If that date does not work for a majority of the group, we could also look at another date.
Doesn't matter to us because we'll be off. It doesn't really affect us because we'll be off.
Well, does anybody have any particular problem with October the 10th that they know about at this point? I don't know of anything, for me at that point anyway, but,
October 10th works for me.
No conflicts here.
well, then,
Okay.
let's just put it on the 10th.
Do you need a
By
motion?
acclamation, are we all okay with
Aye.
that? Okay, good.
October the 10th it is.
All right,
That was it, right?
update time.
Update.
While you're loading, my kiddo attended the outdoor summer camp last week and absolutely loved it. So had a blast and all day long, every day. So
Great.
really, really great program. Y'all did a great job. Very affordable too. That was very sweet of y'all.
It's weird.
That is something that we were trying to do, right off the top, is make it affordable. And then in addition to that, not everybody knows who we are and how well or how well not we put programs together, so.
Well, it was very well put together. It was a lot of fun,
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
of course.
Cool. All right. Miss Kimberly is not here. She is, she's in A&M right now. So she's pursuing her master's, and she is, this week she's dealing with her residency over there. And so she's going to be gone all week. But I will have the pleasure of presenting all of this information to you today. So, wow, I love it. Just went blank. Okay, so I have a picture for you, and I figured I'd just start this with a little bit of fun. But we put this out on social media to see what kind of answers that we got from folks. But this was from the flooding event back in May that we had in Riverside Park. And so I would just leave this open to y'all. What do you think that is?
Ants.
Ants.
Right? There's a whole bunch of them, swarms of them. The one on the right-hand side, there's a video of it, and it's crazy because all you see is just little itty bitty things moving around, and there's just thousands upon thousands of fire ants all over the place. And so we ran into a whole lot of that, obviously, when we were dealing with the flooding. So good times. So speaking of flooding, Parks Maintenance was really busy in May, really just dealing with the flooding, either closing down certain areas of the park, cleaning up certain areas of the park, or just preparing and trying to be as ready as possible. So the picture on the right-hand side is a graph. I've shown this to y'all before, but you can see we're expected to crest at 29.2. I believe we did crest at 29.2. There were other days that looked a whole lot rougher than that, but there were, it was a major event, and it didn't impact the park as much as it had in the past, but there was also close to another foot of water that was a difference. And so that was one of the huge differences between this one and the one in October. So of course, you know, the maintenance team, they cleaned flood damage and debris. They spent about 43 hours or so on the maintenance of that. And so that was pretty rough, just cleaning up all the debris, all the silt, all the sediment that was built up. Here's a couple pictures of the zoo area, and you see some backed up drainage. We've since touched base with Public Works Department, and they've helped clean out some drainage along that area to help at least with some of the waterways, water drainage, I'm sorry, getting out of the park. One of the things that we have noticed throughout the park is that we have drainage channels that go into some piping that go right into the river. Well, what happens is, you know, you basically have a piece of pipe sticking out the side of a cliff, and whenever that river gets up high enough, it does what it naturally does, and it goes against, you know, the least resistance. Well, it starts backing up into the park, and so that's where we start getting a lot of our flooding from the park. Is really from the river rising and backing into those drains. And so we're working with the engineering department to locate all of those drains that are going, you know, from the park into the river, and then B, try to figure out a solution to that. You know, a quick thing is just, you know, a flap gate, if you will, right? So you have something that comes over that. Whenever the river rises and pushes up against it, it won't allow water back into the park. So some things that we're working on, but that's what we've been noticing over the last couple of years is that there's a lot of these drainage pipes and, excuse me, and that's where the water's coming in and really inundating the park. Here's another picture of the flooding. Obviously not anywhere close to where we were back in the 90s, thank goodness. There's another picture, Commissioner Repke, you might be able to see where that one's at. There's a hill in the very, very back there. But this is, you know, obviously, you know, one of the ends of the park that gets inundated too. The Fox's Bend and the Grover's Bend areas are ultimately underwater every time. This is near the soccer fields on Bluff Street. You're going back towards Staten. I just thought that was kind of funny. I mean, the nature trail underwater, but where is the nature trail, right? And then one of the not funny things that we deal with all the time is the kayak dock, right? So that's floating probably about 15 feet in the air right there. You can see in the background all the water, and that water is just rushing like crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had
Now it's an easy out.
I'm sorry?
Now it's an easy out.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, ma'am, exactly.
Jason, how did it affect any of the construction? And sorry if you're going to cover this of the duck pond. Did it mess any of that up? Like fill
Yeah.
it back in, silt it in, anything like that?
Yeah, so no damage at all to the duck pond. Actually, it helped a little bit just with filling up the pond. So the rainwater was great. All the issues that we have were on the golf course. Again, it all came from that drainage pipe. We had a little bit of water, and I didn't have it in this picture, but we did have a little bit of water on the dog park, on the sidewalk, but that's gonna be the one closest to that drainage way, and we knew that going into it. We looked at the sidewalks afterwards, there wasn't really any major issues with anything, so we're kind of, you know, just planning for that, knowing that it's gonna flood over there, that we have to get to it ASAP and get it cleaned up and everything.
Is this on the kind of the backside back there by the,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If I can remember, I've got a picture of, that I can show you. It would kind of relate to where that water was at in a future slide. One of the big things that I did want to bring your attention to, and I don't have any pictures of it, my phone was acting a little crazy and I couldn't upload, but at the Lee Tracy and Community Center splash pads. So the Community Center splash pad and Ethel Lee Tracy splash pad were both opened back in 2018 and I believe 2016. Both of those splash pads that we have are water play features. Those water play features, they're based out of Canada. And so we've been having some issues with them as far as getting people down here to look at what we need to. A lot of those manufacturers, you know, have a contractor that they know of and that they can call and they say, you know, you contact so-and-so and they'll take care of our water feature. Well, those folks are in Dallas and Houston. We're to a point with our community center park that, hold on, let me back up a little bit. So Water Play, based out of Canada, they have a contractor based out of Houston and Dallas. Lone Tree Creek Park is a different feature. It's a Craftsman aquatic play structure. They're based out of Spring, Texas, so out of the Houston area. So you can see that we don't really have any issues with Lone Tree. It's always up and running. Well, we always have that maintenance and we have that availability. We have that service. It's right down the road. Ethel Lee Tracy and Community Center Park, we've been working on that for the last probably about 2 months. We've spent almost double the amount of time that we did this year as opposed to last year as far as maintenance and repairs is concerned. So Ethel Lee Tracy Park and the Community Center Park had just internal issues as well as some concrete issues. We ended up contracting some stuff out. Long story short, we spent roughly $50,000 on both of these splash pads over the last 2 or 3 months, just trying to get them up to where they need to be. The Community Center Park one is, I'm happy to say, we finally got it to a point where we feel comfortable. We've been able to get the water circulated through the pipes. All the debris has been getting out of the pipes. We've been able to keep a good water chemistry on it, and so we're happy with it. Last week was our first full week of us running the entire system. Everything's looking good, and so this week what we're doing is a soft opening. And what that is we're literally opening up the gate, but we're not telling anybody. We're not publicizing it at all because there's enough people that stop in just to check anyway. And our goal is that we do the soft opening this week, see what kind of, readings that we get for the water, see what kind of potential issues we may have. If we don't have any issues over the weekend, then we'll really push and publicize for reopening next week.
What park is this?
This is the community park, splash pad.
Community center?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. So the Ethel Lee Tracy one is another issue. That one we actually have to get to a point to where we get somebody down that knows the system, and that's the Houston and Dallas folks. We contacted them, I think a week and a half ago, and they were 2 to 3 weeks out. And we just told them, look, I don't care who it is, whether it's the guy in Houston or the guy out of Dallas, whoever can get here first, that wins, right? And so that's what we're waiting on. So we're about a week and a half out, 2 weeks out, until we're able to actually get somebody from Dallas or Houston to be able to look at Ethel Lee Tracy. So I say that because, again, three splash pads, 2 of them were down. And so we want to make sure that we get them all up and running as quickly as possible. The one biggest thing that I just want to keep pressing is just the water chemistry. We want to make sure that we have good water chemistry. The city of Arlington, about 2 years ago, ended up with a huge lawsuit because they had a 3-year-old that died off from a splash pad, and they ended up getting some brain-eating amoeba. And so, we definitely don't want to go down that route. We want to make sure that everybody's safe. And so I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention. Ethel Lee Tracy Park, hopefully we have that up and running within the next month. Community Center Park, everything's looking good. Hopefully next week we're good to go. So just wanted to provide that update to you because I know splash pads were a big topic.
Can I ask a question? Would it
sir.
just, wouldn't a regular pool guy be able to help here or something?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
Are they that unique? The solenoid valves involved, I'm assuming?
You would think at it and look at it and go, you know what, a plumber can fix that. Easy. Solenoid valves, you've got diaphragms that are in there. It's just like an irrigation system, but it's a specialized irrigation system because it's like a mini pool. And each aquatic playground manufacturer specs it to their own hydraulic engineers. And so each one of those system craftsmen, Vortex, Water Play, all of those are different and unique within their own right.
So Jason, what was going on with the Ethel Lee Tracy Park? What component of the system has given us the problem? Or is it a
So if you want me to be very candid with you, when they installed the system, and I don't know, my biggest question is I don't know why it's happening now, but we're only able to use 2,000 gallons out of the 4,000 gallons that are available in that storage tank because it's a recirculating system. And so that's been like that apparently since day one. So there's one issue. But the problem that we had been running into over the last 2.5 months is that our pH would tank. Our pH would tank overnight, and for no reason. And that's what we've been trying to figure out. So we can't hold a steady water quality. Our water chemistry is just keeps diving. It's like a roller coaster, just up and down, up and down. And so we can't keep a steady, ppm as far as our chlorine and everything.
What's the expected lifespan of these splash pads?
Oh, gosh, 20-plus years.
Okay.
I mean, it's as long as you take care of it, you maintenance them, get the software updates that you need. I mean, they can last a while.
Other communities have these kind of issues? Because it seems like these have been problems for a long time, like you said, if it's something that goes, the recirculation problem goes back to the time we first acquired them, it's never been really addressed. Was that a similar deal with the other one from the same manufacturer? Was it also a recirculation issue? or-
Concrete issue with the community
Oh,
center.
that's what I
one, right?
remember.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, at the community center, it was concrete because of the piping underneath. There was some leaking that happened or busted pipes or something like that, and it caused issue with the concrete. But that was the community center one that, to answer your question, every community I've been to has some kind of issue with splash pads. Whether it's a flow-through system or a recirculating system, they're all a little finicky. Have they had this many issues with them? I can't say.
Are we still planning on doing the splash pad in Riverside? Is that,
No, sir. So there was some conversation about moving that funding and to help with a potential splash pad at the De Leon Plaza renovation for downtown.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that's where that's going now?
Yes, sir.
Is it going to be a special needs one?
The way that I haven't been in those conversations in a while, but the way that it looks like it's very easily approachable for anybody that has any kind of ADA, concerns. But it does look,
Wasn't that the intent with it being next to the parks office? In the special needs area?
we're kind of dubbing that area as that, I guess, because we were looking at having that inclusive playground there. We're looking at, the fact that we have the Challenge Athlete Stream Complex, and then, to be able to add an inclusive splash pad to that would have been really cool to have an inclusive, area. But yes, ma'am, that was the goal, but we'll still try.
So was that taken into account, using a more local contractor for the water feature splash pad with De Leon Plaza? Or did they go with somebody from Canada?
Well, unfortunately, with things like that, they bid them out unless you're very specific with it. I'm not sure how specific they were with that, so I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
That's not in the Parks Department anymore.
Correct, yes, sir. We're assisting with it, but not necessarily, direct oversight of that. When I did have a conversation with the city manager's office, though, there was one thing that Mr. Garza was very vocal about, and he also mentioned it to council, is that, that's why we don't go to the low bid process anymore. We needed to have a best value, because, the lowest bid isn't always, the best bid. And so, that middle of the road company, could have been hit, so.
Isn't the Parks and Recreation Department responsible for maintaining these, but you're not responsible for the purchase of that?
We are. We're both for the purchase and the maintenance of it, but I'm not sure how the procurement was in the past, but it sounds like it was low bid. So now it's not that way. Ever since I've been here, it's been best bid. So we would basically open the bids, score the bids, and then go ahead and move forward with selecting a contractor. It sounds like previously it was just, doesn't matter who they are, what they have to offer, they have the lowest bid for what we need, and we're gonna go with them. But yes, ma'am, we would have say if it was a procurement process from here moving forward. Okay, any other questions on the park maintenance?
Hey, that's just splash pads.
That's the splash pad.
Can y'all hear me? Because I can't hear me. It's like I have the only not working microphone.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I can't.
When you turn away, it definitely fades away, so that works. Yeah, whatever you're doing. All right. Recreation, I don't have Kimberly here, but there's a whole lot of stuff that has been going on in recreation. So, yeah, I'll just kind of try to hit on this as much as possible. But we've really been doing a lot. Anything from events to programs. This was a Toddlers on the Trail program that was held over at the community gardens. We've been doing some bird watching and some beach volleyball and teen painting. I think one of the more unique ones that we had was the horsemanship with a pony. And then we even had some yoga in there as well. So there was a horsemanship with a pony. And these all have had some really, really good turnouts. I can tell you there was the National Take Parents to Playground Day. I went with my family, and I can tell you there were probably 100 folks out there all together. So it was really cool, really neat event, really neat to see everybody come together like that. So
Cute.
one of the things that we have started to do, just like we have in the parks maintenance side, is start taking stats and some data for our recreation programs. And so just wanted to present that here to you. In May, we hosted 25 different programs and events that had over 2,600 participants. Our leagues that were hosted by us, which were, Victoria Parks and Recreation Leagues, we had 6 of those. We ended up with 52 teams, which equated to over 600 games. It's a lot of games, a lot of time out there in the field. And then, of course, social media is a big one for us. Gabby, who some of you may or may not know, she's a rock star. All of our teams are rock star, but she's a rock star. She is. Yeah, exactly. She's been our main advertising guru, if you will. And so she's been doing a really good job on social media. And you can see with those numbers on the right-hand column or that chart, you can see all the impressions for Facebook and Instagram. And then the chart on the left-hand side shows the percentage, the growth percentage that we've had with each of those. Again, we just started keeping this information, so it's really not a whole lot of background information I can provide to you as it relates to that data, but something that we're keeping track of and hopefully continue to see increases in throughout. A couple of upcoming recreation programs that we have. Well, some of these have already taken place in earlier this month, but the Nintendo Nightclub, I know that was a really big one that happened this past weekend. And actually, these two also happened at the first, I think it was the first weekend in June. Really great stuff. We've got a couple more things that are coming up. We have a foamed up party June 15th. And then also a Kids Day Out. That's going to be over at Riverside Park. The Iced Tea, I believe that was this past weekend. There was also another event that was running parallel with that. So, in addition to all the other events that we have and all the other programs that we have, these are the things that we're adding to the array of events and programs. A couple other sports and wellness programs that we have. We have beach volleyball, of course, and we've got dodgeball. That was a big thing last year, and so we wanted to bring that back. Of course, all of our softball and kickball leagues that we have. And then one of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is, of course, the 4th of July. Everybody hopefully received a little goodie bag with some information in there. So we do have a cornhole tournament that's going to be taking place, as well as a car show, in addition to the band and the fireworks at the community center. So lots of really cool stuff happening. If there's something up here that you don't see that you want to see, please contact us, let us know. Kimberly is doing a really good job, overseeing all of the recreation activities, and the recreation team has been rocking and rolling. So,
What are the prizes for the cornhole tournament if there's a $30 entry fee?
that is a very good question. I'm not sure.
Is it cash?
I don't believe so. I'll look into that. Yes.
Jason, something from last year at I heard and saw a lot of people struggling with for the 4th of July at the community center was there wasn't a whole lot of shade.
Yes, sir.
There was that one little kind of bar area sort of thing, but for families with kids, there just wasn't a ton of shade out there and it was super hot. Has there been anything thought of to address that for this year?
That's a good question.
It's a fireworks show too.
Yeah.
Put up a canopy. you're
I
gonna
know
be
that
under.
that was one of the things that we had talked about is the fact that, do we want to make it more of the afternoon event or should it be more of just an evening event? Because it's just so blistering hot outside and nobody wants to stand out there.
Everybody was sitting like behind the food trucks and like that
Yeah.
little bit of shade just on the ground.
Trying to catch the shade the right way.
There are
yeah.
literally people like waiting to sit in the shade.
I know Kimberly and I had talked about just having just one large tent and putting some tables and chairs underneath that. But I'm not sure how far that has come along. And so let me follow up on that and see. We've got enough time, so let me see how that's going.
That's a good idea. I see those at festivals where they have the large tent and it's like a cool-off station and eat in there and stuff.
Yeah, we even talked about like misting fans underneath there, so that way people could get a little reprieve from the heat. But
that's
Yeah, it
I'll-
starts early in the day and like, it gets dark. It doesn't get dark until like 8:30, 9 o'clock. So you got a long time of.
Yeah, and that's the reason too why we were looking at maybe pushing it back a little bit later. Maybe the event starts at 4, instead of 2 or 1 or whatever that is. Try to get that more evening, cooler hours.
Yeah.
That 98 instead of that 110. Any other questions? Okay. Golf course. They're rocking and rolling. They're doing good. No, golf course is doing really well. There's the May stats for you. We've had a lot less rounds this month, but we've continued to hold strong with our total rounds sitting around 2,900. I believe last month was roughly the same. Really, the biggest thing is our Thursday scrambles and our red, white, and blue scramble. I believe that's going to be the last weekend in June or the first weekend in July. Again, overall looking really good. Sitting at $119,844 in revenue for the month of May. As a reminder, our expenditures are about $100,000.
Is it the flooding that kept the rounds down this month?
A little bit, yes. We weren't necessarily closed fully, but we did have roadways into the park closed, and so that deters people
That's issues.
naturally. That and the fact that it was cart path only, that always gets people
Oh, yeah.
sometimes. So, what, cart path only? I'm not going. So, I apologize because I don't know what happened. Some of my stuff in here changed colors. The golf course stats should be in white and the numbers should be in black. I don't know what's up, but so it may be difficult to read. But the golf rounds are sitting at 21,162 for the year, as in comparison to 19,936 from last year. May is about 600 rounds less than it was last year, and about 400 rounds less than it was last month. But overall, our golf revenues are up. This fiscal year, we're sitting at $927,641 in revenue. Same time last year, $873,040. And then May is pretty close to the same as it was last year and even last month. So be happy to answer any questions on the golf course. Okay. Man, this threw my colors off. This is weird. Okay, sorry. There's like blue and green and teal. I don't know what's going on. We'll just see how this goes. Community center rentals. We've done pretty good. We've had 19 total. We had 15 of them that were not city events or city programs. 3 of them that were city events, meetings, trainings, and then 1 program held by Parks and Recreation, which was the horsemanship with a pony. The projects, quite honestly, are about the same. I'm not necessarily gonna go too deep into them, but we do have the market feasibility report. My apologies, I failed to send that out to y'all. However, you will see that in your email this evening. It's already there, matter of fact. But there is a market feasibility report that we received from the Sports Facilities Company that speaks to the facilities themselves. It ranks them in condition, also speaks about the market study. We have had a meeting with them. They're working on a final draft. We hope to be able to have a final draft to send over to you for next month's meeting. So we should have that over to you in the next couple of weeks.
Does that have anything to do with an indoors
Yes, ma'am.
recreation?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There's a recommendation in there for that as well. The active transportation master plan, I just wanted to leave that up there. It did close already, but I wanted to leave that up because we did, well, Commissioner Keeling was there as well. We were able to take a tour and actually go and see a couple of these areas, some of these targeted areas, I guess. And so the survey did close, but I hear that we had some really good participation. So I'm not sure, Commissioner, if there's anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick little report on the audit day that we went out and and looked around. We decided we would meet with the planners at a few locations around town and just kind of take a look. They asked for some ideas, and I suggested a couple of places, but we kind of focused on, things you'd expect. We talked about some of the places that all of us are probably aware of. Talked a little bit about, the crossing over there by the HEB on Rio Grande. Talked about the crossing of Rio Grande over by UHV, where they have their their student housing on one side of the road and the university on the other, and how and we looked around closer to downtown as well. Went out to the trail and looked at the. I don't know how many of you all remember this, but you remember when they built the walking trail in, the intersection at John Stockbauer was troublesome. They had some accidents there, bad accidents, I think. And they put some signs up. No one knew what the signs meant, and no one could explain what the signs meant. They were, it was just really kind of a mess. And, that's really been abandoned at this point to the traffic. You're on your own if you want to cross John Stockbauer over there. They have given you a little refuge area in the median. So if you can get across one pair of lanes, you can, wait it out and get across the other pair. But otherwise, that traffic there just shoots by at 45 miles an hour, doesn't stop or anything. And so it's kind of it's something that needs to be addressed. We went over there and looked at that and showed that to the planners. One of the most eye-opening things, though, was we took a wheelchair with us. Mm-hmm. And we started at 700 Main over here, and we walked across the railroad tracks behind 700 Main and out onto Rio Grande. And then we walked the intersection. We walked up Rio Grande. We crossed at Navarro.
Yes, sir.
Which has no crossing signals. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There are none at Main in Rio Grande at all. There are none at Navarro in Rio Grande. And there's the ones at Ben Wilson, where UHV is. They're working on those. They're brand new. They're just putting them in. Now, I don't know if there were some in before or not, but we walked all those intersections under current conditions. So this is like at 10 in the morning on a weekday. And it was taking your life in your own hands everywhere you went. It was insane.
Correct.
But people are doing that all the time. And then we went up to the intersection of Navarro and took the wheelchair out. And we did it both ways, where you push somebody in it and went down the side, around that block where the Whataburger is. We started in the Whataburger parking lot, went over to Navarro, went down Navarro towards, to the south, and then took a left and came back up the sidewalk, back towards the Whataburger, and then back into the Whataburger parking lot. With just that little section. You could hardly push somebody in it. And then if you did it yourself, which I did, pushed yourself in the wheelchair, I was sweating like, it was horrible.
Yes, sir.
And you kept trying to throw you off into the street because it's all slanted off that way. This is something we really, really need to work on here. And the council earlier this month blew off an opportunity to do a project that the Highway Department was going to cover, about $12 million worth of new sidewalks up and down Main Street from Rio Grande all the way to Tropical Drive out by West High School. We had a 20% match. They would pay the rest of it. It would have covered crossings at all of those intersections that between Rio Grande and Tropical Drive. if you look at if you drive up Main Street and look at the crossings where you can, where you can cross the intersections, if you're afoot, you cannot cross at Red River, and I don't think you can cross until you get to Cuero, because there's not one on any of those streets. There might be one at the Loop, I don't know, I don't think there is. But,
I'm not sure.
but literally, there's not a crosswalk between here and Cuero on Main Street. And we could have had all those crosswalks and could have had all that stuff. So there was several people showed up at council last time to kind of bring that to their attention. There was some comment that we're not a walking city. And it was unfortunate, but.
Because you can't walk it.
Huh?
I
Well,
said,
you can. I mean, you certainly can't try to make, if
And
you
people
were.
don't walk anymore either. Like, I don't see a whole lot of walkers. I see runners, I see bikers or bicyclers. I mean, some people walk, but I mean,
A lot of
it's not,
people-
like, from neighborhood to neighborhood, but like, they do walk. I mean, people do walk, like
Yeah.
in the trails and things like that. But a lot of people do bicycle too, so they do need to be wide enough to take on those bicycles.
The project that they were talking about had a 10-foot sidewalk on the west side of Main and a 5-foot walk on the other side of Main. So they were tremendously generous right-of-ways. And, the one on the west side would go right in front of where the city's gonna put the law enforcement facility. And it would have covered that crossing and all those sidewalks in front of that thing too.
Too
So,
late.
What do you think the reasoning
was-
behind
the
them
grant
not
deadline
wanting to
was-
do it? Was it that they didn't want to come up with the 20%?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. You'd have to ask the 4 council members that voted against it. 3 voted for it, 4 voted against it. But it was, I think it was a missed opportunity. But at any rate, especially given the fact that we have this active transportation plan going on, that was really unfortunate to see that happen. But at any rate, maybe there'll be another opportunity, and maybe that we'll be more open to it. But it seemed to me we missed some coordination here between this planning process and what was put before the council the other day.
And
I
that
think
was
if
a
there'd been
study, that was a study that was just done, the active transportation master plan that city council paid for.
the middle
Well,
of
this one's still ongoing. This one just started, I would say probably 3 to 5 months ago. And
Yeah.
so they're going through the survey right now. So this is still in the works.
Right, which makes it more problematic in my mind that wasn't kind of taken into account somehow. But at any rate, it wasn't. So I didn't mean to get off on my soapbox, but I was disappointed about that. But it was very eye-opening to go on the audit tour and see some of the things that the people who do walk confront. And you can't help but do that and think that if some of those things were fixed and you lived in those apartments right there by Ben Wilson, you could safely walk over and get a smoothie, or you could walk over to UHV if that's where you wanted to go, or to the hospital. You could navigate that, but we just didn't have any infrastructure to do it with.
Just allowing opportunities for safe access.
Yeah.
Well, it's a
I mean,
very-
people were saying, we don't want to get off, and if you build it, they will come. We don't want to bet on that. Well, this is the kind of thing that, if there ever a situation where it's true, it's this kind of thing, because you can't do it now. It's without taking your life in your hands to go out and do it. Most people aren't going to.
It's very patchwork, even on the north side. When we lived across from East High School, just trying to get down to Ted B. Reed, there'd be a sidewalk on one side of the street, and then you'd have to
Right.
cross 2 intersections to get, because down the sidewalk's on the other side of the street, and then there's just a patch of 100 yards where there's no sidewalk, so you gotta walk through the grass, and trying to push a stroller or walk with kids, you're right. I mean, it's taking your life into your hands, and it's dangerous, where it's like, there wasn't any master plan or any active, thought going into it. It's just like, oh, well, the developer put a sidewalk in here, and then there's nothing for a while, and then
That's what I meant when we're not a walking town, because I'd walk out of, like Tanglewood Tangerine, and then try to get to Cimarron, and
Yeah.
you're walking on one side of the road, and then you have to switch to the other crossover, and then go to that side of the road. And then also, the sidewalks, they are terrible, so you're not a walking town because you can't walk here and be safe and have good walking paths.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why it's not a walking town. But I am 100% with you, because, I've been spending a lot of time in St. Pete lately, and, I ride my bike every day. And you can ride your bikes on the sidewalks and you can ride them on the road. You have access to both. They have bike lanes on most every road. So you have the ability to ride on the road with the cars, or you can ride on the sidewalk. And a lot of the sidewalks, you know, because like here, the ground's not level, you know, the sidewalks are kind of falling apart. So they made those bike paths. And I mean, every day we get on our bikes because we can, and it's safe. And then we have this trail that takes us, I mean, all over town, but it also goes all the way from St. Pete to Tampa. So we're looking at 40 miles of a trail system. And I mean, it's constantly being utilized because, I mean, it's safe, but also you get to be outside and you enjoy your ride. I don't use gas. My kids and I jump on our bikes. We go drive around on our bikes and go do whatever we want to do, 10 minutes to the beach, 10 minutes to the beach. It's fun. I mean, why would you get in your car? And so, I mean, it's even quicker and a lot, like, because the traffic can be so bad. So it's really nice to have those systems. But then also, I've been taking pictures of the crosswalks. I'll send them to you. I can send them to all of you. But they have red flashing lights at all of those, you know, pedestrian crosswalks. And it says that it is the law to stop for pedestrians. And so that's not yield, it says stop. And so if somebody is walking, they have to stop there, and there's no yellow blinking light, there's no confusion. This is the law, this is what we do, and everyone conforms to it there because this is what they've been doing consistently. So like, if you build it, people will come because, I mean, that's what we love about it is, I mean, if I could have driven my bike from Cimarron to work every day safely, I would have done that. Like, I love riding my bicycle, and it's a great method of transportation, but also exercise. It does keep you active. I notice that when I am riding my bike every day, I feel better. So, I mean, and my kids love it. And I mean, that's an 18-year-old and a 10-year-old who like riding every day when most kids want to be sitting inside. But you give them access, and you'll get them outside, and they'll ride on it.
One of the things that the planners had measured, and I can't tell you exactly how they measured it or how they came up with it, but they had this latency measure where they were trying to put a finger on what kind of demand was likely there for those kind of amenities that's not being satisfied. And we had a great deal of, the planners came up with Victoria's having a whole lot of that. The other thing that was really interesting that they came up with was that there's a scale addressing the things you're talking about. How safe do you feel? And there's a scale of like 1 to 4 of how safe do you feel when you're out doing those kind of things. And you want to be, I can't remember if it's 1s or 2s or 3s or 4s. I think 1s or 2s is what you want. 3s or 4s are where, 4s are like daredevils only. And
Right.
3s are people that are very experienced. And 1s and 2s are where you would go or you'd go feel safe going yourself. And 1 is like you'd feel safe going yourself or sending your kids out by themselves. And so we were very high on that scale community-wide, 3+. And they said if we changed one thing, we could slip back into a much more normal deal, and that was just our speed limits. They said if you just, he said, we're not recommending that you just do that and call it good. He said, but they said that was that's one of the variables in the equation. And they said if you just moved your average speed limit down like 5 miles an hour or something in certain particular areas, you would switch the whole profile on that scale from 3.5 down to 2.5 or something like that. So anyway, it was very eye-opening. This has been really interesting to watch, I thought. So anyway,
Oh, yeah.
hate to, sorry, that's my.
No, it's all
that's my
good.
2 cents.
I agree. I love the active transportation master plan. I think that is where we need to head. Like, I like the murals. I like all the stuff the city is doing lately. Like, to me, that's the right direction that we need to be heading. The things that they're doing to, I don't know, just bring interest to Victoria. They're making it a more fun place to live. I mean, that's Parks Department and the city. Like, we need this.
I think people would enjoy it.
I do too.
Well, on that note, the UDO is still being, looked at by Freeze and Nichols. And so I know that's something that should be coming to a close, I think, at the end of this year. So the UDO would include, the parkland dedication. It would include the,
Maybe some
complete
trail
street-
dedications. some of
Yeah,
that kind
complete
of thing.
streets, all of
Nice.
that fun stuff. So looking forward to that. And then, of course, we did submit the boat grant, the boating access grant for for TPWD. And just in conversation with our grant administrator, it sounds like sounds like they're interested in that project. So, yeah,
Awesome.
looking good for that. This is the duck pond. Really, just wanted to, nothing's really changed over there. Nothing worth sending you a picture or putting a picture on here. But really kind of where they're at right now is finishing up the electrical. So you may start to see some of those big street lights, but you'll see big poles out there getting erected. Those are the lights that'll go around the trail system. Just spoke with the contractor this morning or this afternoon. We have some electrical work on the boardwalk that needs to be finished up. Of course, the flooding and the rain, it did delay them. So we'll get the electrical finished up within the next couple of weeks. That includes the light poles and all that fun stuff. Probably about 2 weeks after that, so towards the end of this month, we're gonna be looking at them dressing up the area, so just getting it all buttoned up and cleaned up and, looking good. And then shortly after that, it'll be hydro mulch. And so they'll start spraying down the hydro mulch. You'll see a bunch of green furry looking stuff out there. That's hydro mulch. We will start filling the pond probably within the next week or so. We won't fill it all the way, but we will start to fill it. The reason for that is that we do have a floating pier. That's going to be that fishing pier that's going to be going in. You see that picture on the left-hand side. You kind of see a T on the right next to a big, looks like a big cypress tree or something. That is where the floating pier is going to be. So in order for that floating pier to be installed, the pond has to be partially filled. So we're going to start to partially fill the pond then. The only thing that we're waiting on is the gazebo, quite honestly. We're still on a pretty decent delay for that, so I think that's going to be the last thing that we'll just wait on, but still looking at an October timeframe.
What's the process going to be for filling it? What are you going to fill it from? The river or the?
So do you see the picture on the right-hand side where the boardwalk is at? Just to the north of that boardwalk, there's a white building. Just to the north of that, you can barely see a little bit of pond of water. So that's where we get our water for the irrigation as well as the duck pond. And so there, you almost can kind of see it. There's a connection between the duck pond and that and that pond itself. There's pipe underneath that. And
Okay.
so whenever we turn that valve on, that pipe will open up and allow water to flow through. And so that's the system that we have.
Do we take that water off the river or is that?
It's well water.
Oh, it's well water. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's just that one, so it's probably gonna take a good 3 weeks to get substantially full.
What's the stocking like for it? Is Texas Parks and Wildlife gonna stock it or?
Not yet. I've got to work with inland fisheries on that. There are a couple change orders that I'm working through as well. So the parking lot, that would be to the left of the gazebo, I guess you will, on the right-hand picture, as well as the main parking lot where the entryway is at. All of that is going to be refurbished, and so that'll all be new looking. But as far as the fish are concerned, I'm probably going to wait a couple more months until I talk to them. But we'll end up purchasing from TPWD or using one of their subcontractors and have them just drop them in there. But that's the duck pond. Any questions on that? Oh, commissioners, on both pictures, you can see, you know what, on the right-hand one, maybe a little easier to explain. So on the right-hand picture where the boardwalk meets the sidewalk to the right-hand side, you can see that everything to the right of that is green and it kind of looks like a loop. That is that's the golf course. So everything within the shaded area right here, all this green right here is all planted with trees, and you can kind of see that on the left-hand picture. It's very far away, but I promise you there's more trees than what it looks like is in there. I don't know, Commissioner Oliveras, if that helps with a visual.
Probably will. I think it will
Okay.
give a little more information.
Right, 20 years, it'll look just like to the right of it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, and you know, just to be very candid with you, I mean, in that picture on the left-hand side, that far water pond, that hole, if you will, all those trees that you had just mentioned, Commissioner, we still found balls all over there. And so, it's just, I even asked Rolando, I was like, how does a ball get all the way over here? I mean, it could bounce and hit the concrete. I mean, there's multiple ways for that to get through there. So, I mean, there are gonna be signs throughout that entire area that just warn people to listen for and to watch out.
We have balls in our parking lot all the time at the Rose Garden.
They-
Yeah, so
yeah.
they're just flying out of the sky. It's just,
Balls all the way across the street on the path.
oh, yes, that's true.
We could always put hard hats up there too. I mean, just let people
The
take them.
golfer, at the end of the day, is liable for where their ball goes. Like, that's not on the city for putting the duck pond next to the golf course. If the golfer can't control where their ball going,
I had one come, bounce off the pavement when I was coming down the hill on my bicycle,
Oh, good.
coming off of whatever hole that is, from your place, going back the other way.
Oh, goodness.
Just need to send them to Rolando so he can do all this teaching, do some lessons in.
I mean, he pretty much supplied like East Golf Course, golf team with balls because they keep flying out of the air and I just keep donating them. So look at all these balls we have. So we appreciate it.
So that's the duck pond. Again, everything's on track there. Dog park, the only thing that really has happened is we had some clearing of some bamboo, and then some fence started to get erected. They started putting posts in the ground, and so Commissioner Billingsley and others that had questioned, the picture on the right-hand side, the right-handed trail, the bottom portion of that, I don't know how to say it, but basically where that tree line is at, down, from that point down to that curve is kind of where the water was at from that drainage area. And so you can see the drainage is just to the right of that. So that black line that you see in that picture is that silt fence, just to give you some context. But this isn't the best picture that I have, but it is a picture nonetheless of the fence going up. There is some minor stuff that I need to change here. So you'll see the fence post being that black Omega or that black chain link fencing going towards the front on the left-hand side. That chain link fence that you see is kind of in the middle. That should be black, so that's going to change. That the contractor should have that black. But basically, everything on that back end all the way around is chain link fence. So that raw chain link fence, if you will.
Silver?
Yes, ma'am, that's silver. So everything else will be, again, either black coated chain link fence, or it'll be that Omega fencing, which is more ornamental type fencing.
So that's the area right there where you've got where the water is coming up?
Yes, sir. Yep, exactly. Basically from that tree, coming back to the corner that's closest to me. It didn't even do any damage to the silt fence. I mean, the water came over it, and once the water receded, the silt fence was still there. Any questions on the dog park?
When is it gonna open?
We are scheduled for end of August. We were at mid-August before the floods, and they pushed back about 2 weeks. So I say the end of August.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, not associated. We had talked a while back about dedicating the community center, like splash pad or something for Brother Gary Moses. Are we still planning on doing something like that?
Yeah, we do. Thank you for bringing that back up.
Do you think maybe we could do that in collaboration with 4th of July if it's like accepted by the city council? Because he's always there for the 4th of July. It might be a good opportunity since the splash pad's opening back up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Another thing, I mean, I don't want to push it though, but we do have the 2024 bicentennial
Yep.
too. I don't know
We
if
could
there's
do it
something
next
that
year,
we want to
too.
do that. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yes.
But that is something to think about since we're on that topic is the 2024. So if there's some event or some program or something that you'd like to see for the 2024, please let us know. We're part of that bicentennial celebration committee.
I thought that the commission or the city council voted not to name something after a living person. Was that the consensus from city council?
No.
When it was originally coming back? Isn't that what you got, Mr. Rivera?
Remember I brought up the fact that they tore down the Gary T. Moses swimming pool. And I made a recommendation that they would name the splash pad after Gary Moses. And At the time, the city council said, no, we don't like to name anybody. I mean, one of our facilities have to, if somebody's still alive. And I said, okay.
So has that changed?
No, ma'am, but there are different council members, I think, that are on the dais prior, right, am I not?
I would
might
speak
be
on behalf
mistaken.
of that too, because I'd much rather honor the living than the dead.
I think that could just be a
I don't think
conversation
that's
that
a
we have.
law or anything like, that's not,
Well,
that's just,
That was just
that's a
the-
preference.
Their
Opinion
their
of-
response is, this is what I heard, that let's say they name something when a person is alive. it's like,
They do
you
something
know,
bad.
something bad happens.
Right,
And then what do you do?
right.
So
Adolf
that was
Hitler
their-
was
that
man
was
of the
their-
year at one
And
point.
it makes sense to me, the fact that,
rename
like
it.
the old
Exactly.
military, one, he
It
can
gets an
have 1,000
upgrade.
attaboys and all he takes is one mistake and it ruins everything. And that was the basic logic behind it.
I
It's
get
not
that.
logic.
Well, I would recommend, I mean, not recommend, I would stand behind the Parks and Rec Commission recommending to name something after Brother Gary Moses.
Agree.
While he's alive.
Yes,
Who? And me too.
Brother Gary,
yes.
I'd recommend it. I mean, we could.
He's
all-
at every
that's what-
city
that's what
event, and
we're-
especially Parks events.
Well, the
You know,
swimming
that
pool is
for
named
us.
after him, and that's why I brought it up, because they replaced it with the splash pad. And that was my suggestion, but
That was a
like I
good
said,
idea.
this was a response that we got.
That was a good idea. I
We can all-
remember you saying that.
We just need to go get another response.
I think we can
Yes,
always
let's go
recommend it
back.
again, and they can always shoot it down again, you know?
Right?
That's our mission, to recommend.
Yeah, that'll tell Gary, Gary, don't get in trouble.
That's funny. Well, yeah, we can definitely have that conversation with them.
Thank you.
And see, kind of get their pulse and see what they feeling, so. Any other questions?
Had one other comment from, it's been brought up multiple times at multiple different events at the community center, and I was at the CCA banquet last month. The signal and Wi-Fi in the community center, and I don't know if it's something where when they rent, they don't know it, but they were having a lot of trouble processing transactions. And that's not the first time that I've been to an event where people are trying to use internet in the community center and they're not able to get access to it. And it causes issues. And I know personally, like on my phone, like I don't ever get any signal in the community center.
So they're not getting access at all whatsoever, or it's just slow internet?
Well, no, they weren't able to process transactions on like a Square for like auction items and things like that.
Okay.
And again, I've never rented it out. I know that there is Wi-Fi there that for the
Yes.
city, but there's no guest access.
Well, there should be.
Or,
So
well,
any-
they weren't enabled, like they didn't have the password. It's password protected. There
Okay.
was no open guest network access. And there's been two different events that I've been to. One was a charity function. Well, they're both charity, but one was the CCA banquet and then the other one was the Billy T. Catan, where they're trying to process credit cards and they can't get access to like Wi-Fi in there,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, I'll check into that and see what's going on, because anytime that they rent a facility, there should be Wi-Fi access. And there's a code that is given to the rentor to allow them access into the Wi-Fi. And so that's the reason why I asked if either A, they didn't get access, or B, it was just, crappy Wi-Fi. And so I'll double check on both of those events and see what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, anything else from commissioners? Well, if not, then we will stand adjourned. Thank y'all very much.
I do have something
Oh,
for
Gail?
the next agenda with my,
Yeah, lean into the mic.
I know, lean into the microphone, let's
Too
see if I
late.
can get some sound here. Okay, now you know, guys, how I always want to bring up this park list, a PARC list. Jason abbreviated it.
Yes.
Got the initials now? Okay, so the reason that this list is important, and I want to bring it in front of our other commissioners, our future commissioners, you guys are going to be our future commissioners. We're fixing to go off in September. So this is basically a maintenance list that community members have been bringing to me items since 2014. So it's a 9-year building list, and I shared it with you when you first came on. And we categorized it and did stuff, but
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
still lots of items on it. And I just not only want to work with the Parks Department, but I want to make you guys, the commissioners, aware that, these are items that for the last 9 years that I've been trying to do. So it's going to be y'all's task to continue the,
Fulfill the dream.
the request, to do certain things. So it's nothing major. It's just things that I, feel like these guys should know.
Absolutely. So do you want that on the agenda to go over the list then, the park
Yeah,
list?
and
Okay.
so that, to make you guys aware of, this is what the community has been asking for a very long time. So
Thank you.
sometimes things get done and sometimes,
Sure.
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Let's put it on the agenda, and then do you want to email it? Is it something,
Get an email list prior
You
to.
mean to email it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
It would
email
be
the park
great
list out.
if, sure, we could email it out, but not the day before the
No,
meeting, like.
Right.
I'll email
in
it this week.
advance.
Yeah,
I'll
Okay.
email it this week. Yeah.
we can read over it.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.
And something else that has been coming to my attention, and I just want to mention it, folks are still asking for a community pool. The only way you can go swimming in Victoria is to join a private pool or live in an apartment with a pool. So it seems that the YMCA deal with the city kind of isn't meeting the needs of the community as originally intended. Remember way back when we made a deal with,
what is the deal? What is
It's
the deal with
expired.
the YMCA?
No,
It's a,
it's
well,
not expired.
that's what they informed me last year when I met with
I'm
them.
glad you mentioned that, because
No.
I brought it up to the YMCA staff the other day, but the YMCA, in conjunction with the city of Victoria, was supposed to have the pool. That's why the pool was demolished, and the city of Victoria and the YMCA joined together to make it a pool, YMCA and Victoria pool. Well, here's the thing, that if you are a member, you can go in free. If you're not a member, you pay $5, and it's open to the public. Yes, $5, and that's exactly what they were charging when Victoria had the pool. If you wanted to go to the pool here in Victoria, it was $5. So,
well, I think that's a steep fee. I go to Port Aransas all the time. Their city pool is $1 for seniors and $2 for
maybe
other
back then it
folks.
was cheaper. I'm just saying that there was a fee.
And I'm,
know.
Well,
It
yeah,
might have been
that's
$1.50,
kind
it
of,
might have been $1, I don't know, but then again, there was a fee to go to the public pool, when we did have the public pool. And that's again, right now, the YMCA charges $5.
so when I met with the director last year, she told me that the term had expired, but the special pricing, they had kept it, but they weren't required to anymore. And that they weren't really, they didn't have any like obligations or fulfilling contracts, basically, like that that had been fulfilled.
That's
Right.
unfortunate. That's a
Yes.
false statement.
Okay,
the
Yeah,
$5
I'm
per
gonna
person?
I've got a meeting, I got to set up with the YMCA anyway to discuss this.
okay,
Their contract states that our contract with them, the city and the YMCA are in this joint venture, as Commissioner Rivera had mentioned, until the pool how is it worded? The useful life of the pool. And so there's no expiration on that, and that I'm aware of, until we actually close down the pool. There's other stipulations in there that state that they have to be open from, X date to X date. And then there's also stipulations in there that state that they have to be open for a minimum of 28 hours throughout the week. And so that's something that, there's two items that I need to have a conversation with them on, is just the length
that's great.
of the pool hours, as well as the length of the season. And so the community should have access to the pool. There is also verbiage in there about what the current rate is. And so if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was 50%. They couldn't charge 50% more than a membership rate. I could be wrong on that verbiage, but there was some stipulation in there about the rate. And so, yes, there should be a community pool through the YMCA that was, supported by the city.
So their website currently says, our aquatic facilities, under casual entry passes, our aquatic facilities are open for casual use to anyone who wants to laps, relax in the water, or splash around. Swimmers have the option to purchase a pool membership, pool and gym memberships, a 10-visit pass, 25-visit pass, or individual entry pass. Then it goes on to cite their pool entry fees. Adult is $5.80, a child is $4.90, a member's child is $3.50, and anyone under 2 years old is free. And then they list pricing for multiple, like an adult 10-visit pass, and then they offer their gym and pool memberships. So it looks like $5.80, if I'm reading this, if I'm interpreting this correctly.
Wow.
That is a good comment. Thank you, Gail. Something to definitely look at.
Thank you.
into.
And she is right about the pricing in other areas. I know that we are higher here. I
It's
think
way
that-
cheaper.
I think that Cuero might be, it's either $2 or $4. I'm not sure. Read about it the other day because someone was recommending that with the splash pads being down. But I did go to that Port A pool and that was awesome.
Their whole park is amazing. Have you
Yes.
seen their pickleball courts and their skateboard park? If y'all haven't been, I hate to say it,
It's
but
really great.
Port Aransas is showcase.
So what is this, what are you showing us, Jason?
So I just wanted to mention that, that the swim fees, should be, per the contract, after the initial 3 years of the operation, the open swim fee shall not exceed 50% of the then current non-member day rate fee. That's what I was trying to,
Limited to $3 a
articulate.
day to begin with for the first 3 years, but then it
correct.
adjusted.
Okay.
Obviously 50%.
So would you like that on a future agenda item, or was that as a future agenda item, or did you, I don't remember even who brought
Well,
that.
perhaps whatever you find out from the YMCA.
Sure, we can add that as well.
Jason said he's ran a pool before, so.
Ran a pool?
I mean, he told me this. He can run a pool.
I don't want to. At two cities where I've ran pools, and that's a fun thing.
A fun fiasco.
It's a fun fiasco, yes.
And if you just visit Pebble Beach on a busy day, you'll see all the people too that wish we had a pool.
Right, right, absolutely.
I don't understand.
Awesome.
I guess that's where the short term came from, was $3 fixed fee.
I can send this to y'all too, so that way you'll have
Thank
that
you.
information. Mhm, absolutely.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Going once, going twice. Adjourn.
Thank y'all.
We need to get you
I need a gavel. Yeah. I need a gavel.